G'day everybody, and welcome to another TFT Earthworm podcast. I'm Scott Poynton. I was lucky enough to be in Singapore a couple of weeks ago where I met up with Jesslyne Widjaja. Jesslyne is chair of the Golden Agri-Resources Sustainability Committee. GAR is Indonesia's largest palm oil grower, with plantations covering an area of over 500,000 hectares, and the company pioneered the first no deforestation forest conservation policy with TFT and Greenpeace back in 2011. I asked Jesslyne how they were going with implementing the policy, and she talks about GAR's challenges, the issues she's faced in implementing the policy, but she also talks about the future and her vision and GAR's vision for not only their company, but the palm oil industry in general. It's a fascinating chat. I hope you enjoy it. So here we are in Singapore for the Innovation Forum meeting, and I have the pleasure of talking with Jesslyne Widjaja, who is the chair of the Golden Agri-Resources Sustainability Committee. So good morning, Jesslyne.
Morning, Scott.
You've had an interesting background. I'm interested how you came to be in this position. Indonesia's largest palm oil company, a TFT member for a long time, working on palm oil, the first company to go for a no deforestation commitment back in 2011. Here you find yourself managing the overall sustainability program, or guiding it at least. What's your background, Jesslyne?
It's actually very interesting because my background has been totally unrelated to, first of all, palm oil, and then secondly, sustainability. So I actually grew up in the consulting and finance previous to joining the palm oil industry. So I joined GAR about 3 years ago after doing banking and consulting for several years, actually in the field of strategy and business development. So I was actually in charge of developing the strategy for the business and also business development for the downstream business in particular. Only recently, about I think 6 months, actually a little bit more than 6 months ago, that I've been involved in the sustainability committee, chairing the sustainability for Golden Agri.
So no background in palm oil and no background in sustainability. How did it happen? How did you get into this position?
Well, when I first started getting involved in this, GAR was in a very difficult position. We have been a leader, I think, in sustainability, a pioneer to set the standard for the industry for the past 4 years. But we have been facing a lot of challenges on the ground in implementation and in, convincing the rest of the industry as well as the government to follow the standard, as well as a lot of our suppliers, right? So we're in a very challenging position. So I had to step in and make sure everything is in order, back in order.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. I mean, GAR were really great pioneers in this. I think it was the Nestle campaign in 2010 targeted GAR for Nestle buying from GAR, and Greenpeace were accusing GAR at that stage of clearing forests, HCVs. But GAR responded very positively and very strongly and sat down with Greenpeace and with TFT and worked out what was, well, still is a very leading policy on stopping deforestation. We're the pioneers in the high carbon stock forest approach. Right. And so had a great start, but yeah, things got challenging. What do you think happened?
I think one is the mindset of the people, right? I think it's very hard to change the mindset of the people across our operations. Secondly, also, a lot of these are new standards. So I was just counting the number of SOPs that has to come with the policy. It's over 80 different SOP.
That's operating procedures, standard operating procedures.
Yeah, new operating procedure that we have to roll out to about 500,000 hectares, 180,000 employees, right? For training to be very effective and, in the field, really operational, they have to understand what they're doing. I think it will take a long time.
Yeah, and I think that, GAR did get off to a flying start in the sense that we did a lot of work. There's a lot of focus on the HCS, the high carbon stock, but actually implementing the work in the field, I think we saw some good things, but we saw some things where, as you say, the teams were not sure what these new policies meant. And so cascading the ideas from the head office out into practice in the field often is a problem, and I think GAR found that. But there's been some good stories too, and we've had some positive developments with forest conservation, with the peatland, with the no burning. GAR has been a pioneer, but now you're working through these challenges, and as people know, TFT and GAR had a sort of break in the relationship a few months ago. But how do you think it's going now? I mean, what's your sense?
I hope it's going well. I think from my perspective, I think it's going well. I think our people, we've been doing a lot of socialization and retraining, and we're close to establishing our new policy. So I think people on the ground know how important this is for the company, and they're willing to learn, right? I think it's just a matter of making sure that we go down to the field and retrain them on a lot of these things. So I really hope from TFT perspective that it's going well as well.
Well, we think so. And, we're really encouraged, I think, that GAR has come to support the Centre for Social Excellence. I think this was one of the challenges, not just in Indonesia but everywhere in the tropics, where you've got land, you've got companies coming in to do agricultural development on land that is previously held in customary rights by communities. We see it everywhere, and I think, as we know in the palm oil industry in general in Indonesia, there is a lot of land conflict and a lot of concern about how land is acquired. And we know that GAR, along with the rest of the industry, perhaps didn't have the best practices there in the past. But this is why we've opened the Centre of Social Excellence. I think one of the challenges you've found is actually in cascading your new policy and the ideas down to the people in the field is actually finding the staff to do it. And we know that you're recruiting lots of people, but the Centre of Social Excellence is a space where we can help people understand these new methodologies. And I know you guys are supporting that financially, which we think is terrific. And I think we've just had some GAR people go through the first training. Is that right?
Right. I think, and that's my plan, right? I think together with CSE and TFT, I want to be able to send not just our sustainability people, but also our operation people who are in the field implementing this through the CSE. Because after all, I think it's the managers, the regional controllers, even the assistant down the field who will be the frontliners, right, to meet the community. So they need to be equipped with these new skills.
I think that's great, and our sense is that things are going well, so let's see how the relationship further develops. But what about the future, Jesslyne? What do you think, what's your vision for the palm oil industry? What's your vision for GAR, I think, first off, and where do you think the palm oil industry is headed?
The vision for GAR, I think obviously we want to do responsible business, but I want GAR to be known as the leading company in sustainability. I think for that to happen, not only do we need a leading policy, but we have to figure out how to implement this correctly across our value chain. And I think going forward, our challenges will not only be just internally in our own operation, but also now that we have committed to ensuring traceability across of our value chain, how to ensure that our suppliers also buy into our policy, and also how to educate and make sure they can implement our policy as well. So imagine, even implementing our own policy in our operation is a big challenge. Implementing our policy to the rest of our suppliers' operation will be an even bigger challenge that we have to face in the future, right? And then I think the other challenges are how to bring in the government support, because I think in order for all this effort to be successful, there needs to be a buy-in by the government as well.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of discussion around that at the moment through the government of Indonesia's concern, well, some people in the government's concern around IPOP, the Indonesian Palm Oil Pledge, where GAR, Wilmar, Musimas, AA, Cargill have all come together to try and help people understand what you're all trying to do collectively. You've all got these no deforestation policies. And yet here we are sitting in Singapore with haze problems, big haze problems. Sorry for the people in Indonesia. People in Singapore, obviously it's bad here, but it must be 3 or 4 times worse in Indonesia. It's a big problem, and we were talking over breakfast about this. What do you think we can do? I mean, the people have the right to develop their land, and it's not that the government of Indonesia, who do seem to be getting tough on the haze and the clearing problem and the burning problem, they can't throw all these farmers in jail. Where do you think the future holds for that?
I think, first of all, we need clarity on the issue, right? So I think having the fact sheet, like data on which company, which individuals are burning what, is critical, right? So I think part of the problem is maybe this rogue companies that are burning. That needs to be strong action taken against them. But let's say, I think the majority of this burning is by the smallholders or this community who've known this practice for a long time. So it's a cultural thing, right? So we need to address on how to offer them alternative to slash and burn agriculture.
Quite a challenge. And do you think in all of this, we're talking a lot about challenges, but what about the opportunity side? Do you feel that your customers, the brands that buy palm oil, are they sending you strong messages? We know that obviously we're working with a lot of them. A lot of them have made no deforestation commitments too. But I was talking to another person from the palm oil industry just yesterday, and they were saying a lot of brands are making these commitments, but they're not offering much more support. It's like, yes, you've got to pay for everything. There's no extra price available for palm oil that's sourced responsibly. What's your sense? Are you finding that your discussions with your customers are positive around these areas? Are you getting a sense of encouragement, or are they just sort of saying, actually, we want the price cut and good luck to you on implementing your policy? What's your sense?
I think there's 2 different types of customers. There's one type of customer who I feel really care about making this happen throughout their supply chain. So they're working together with us to make things happen. And maybe they don't necessarily pay a premium for sustainability per se, but they do work with us, let's say, and they pay much better than other customers for bringing them sustainable products, right? But there are also other customers who I feel are not as sincere about making this happen. But then when you come into problem, they don't really work with you together to solve the issues, right?
Yeah. So lots of challenges, and I think we are seeing a good movement in the palm oil industry. But where do you think we're going to be in 10 years' time? Will you be sort of sitting in a corner somewhere, all grey hair and stressed out of your mind about all of the challenges you faced, or do you think you're going to be sitting, looking back, saying, "Well, that was a tough journey, but we got there"?
Well, hopefully the latter. I'm very encouraged about the momentum that the industry has gained the past 4 years, right? I think when we started this journey 4 years ago, we would not have dreamed that 5 of the largest members will come together to set this new standard. So hopefully in the next 10 years, we can convince the other players in the industry, including the smallholders,
including the government, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I think we need the government, the NGOs, the industry, the smallholders to come together to set a new standard for the industry, because palm oil is a key commodity for Indonesia, a key industry for Indonesia, right? So we need to figure out the balance between how to save the forests of Indonesia and how to make palm oil both still productive, maybe through intensification, as well as accepted by the global customers.
Well, you give us great hope, Jesslyne, and with you in charge of Indonesia's largest growers sustainability committee, I hope that this gives our listeners and people out there in the industry some hope that things are turning in the right direction. So thanks for all your efforts. We wish you all the best for your challenges, and we look forward to working alongside you to deliver these goals.
Great. I'm sure with TFT alongside us, we will be able to, implement a lot of these things much faster.
Very good. Thank you very much. That was Jesslyne Widjaja from Golden Agri-Resources. A fascinating discussion. If you want to learn more about TFT's work with palm oil, visit our website at tft-earth.org. And to listen to more of our Earthworm podcasts, visit earthworm.net/podcasts. Thanks for listening.